to self-protection. The first is becoming a little bit more street smart. So whenever you're out and about, try and be a little bit more switched on. Most people are texting on their phone and earbuds in the ear and they've got no attention of the environment. So understand what makes somebody very attractive to a criminal in terms of target selection is somebody that's completely switched off. And that's most people. Most people are not alert, they're not aware. So you need to be switched on. They also look for some kind of weakness. Could be a psychological weakness, somebody that doesn't look very confident, as well as some sort of physical impairment. So imagine somebody's got a limp or something like that. That's also very attractive. And also if the person or the target is alone. Now we can't always control whether we're with somebody else or whether we're alone, but you can control whether you are switched on or not. Do you understand what I mean by switched on?
Yeah.
So when you're out and about, you should have enough awareness of the environment to see somebody that you know before they see you. And you should be aware of who's around you and what's behind you. Just a relaxed awareness. That's what you're looking at, right? Rather than fixated, texting on your phone, talking on hands-free, where you've got no attention of the environment. Because if you are assaulted during that period of time, you've got no intel. Whereas if you're switched on and you're likely to spot a problem before it comes a problem, you can avoid it. And the best self-protection of all is don't fucking be there. Get gone, yeah? This class works primarily with physical elements. So the physical elements are, if I can't avoid something, I can't de-escalate and I can't escape, and now I'm going to have an imminent problem. Well, the other two areas to self-protection are both physical. You are either the person that does something first, proactive, which gives you the highest probability of success, or you're reacting to what somebody's doing to you. Do you understand what I mean by that? So most people call self-protection self-defense. And the bottom line is, if you are defending yourself, you've already been attacked. If you're defending, you're losing. So if you were going to find yourself in a situation that you couldn't avoid, de-escalate or get away from, what I teach first is be first, be preemptive, be proactive. So the tactic that I'm going to give you for simplicity this evening is what we call stun and run. So imagine that you're on your way back to your car and you've been followed. Maybe it's a bit of a secluded parking space. Maybe you parked there earlier in the day and it was busy, lots of cars, and then you finish work and now it's isolated. Well, that immediately makes it a potentially dodgy environment. Let's say somebody comes up to you and addresses you in some way. Well, it would be useful if you saw that person coming towards you. Do you agree? As opposed to, you had no attention of them, and the first thing you knew about it is when they grabbed you around the throat and tried to drag you down the fucking alley. Because now you'd be reacting. So in a physical sense, the ideal would be, can you turn it off? The ideal would be proactive. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if somebody comes up to me, I'm going to create, first of all, a non-violent posture that protects the personal space between us both. I don't want to allow anyone to invade my personal space. Do you understand? And it's from this natural platform that, if necessary, you should strike first. And what I'm going to give you today is what's based on a tactic of stun and run. So imagine some guy tried to accost you and he come forward and you poked him in the fucking eyes and kicked him in the bollocks. Well, that would create an effect as long as you've done that with significance. And the significant effect would create a brief separation from you that would buy you the opportunity to turn and run. Or get in your car, lock the door and fuck off. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to teach you is a stun and run tactic. And it's based on you doing something before the other person does something to you. Do you understand? And then we're going to take that into the context of you caught it a little late. So now the person has actually laid their hands on you and now you have to do something. And that would be where defending yourself comes in. So most self-defense begins with somebody already attacking you, which is absolutely ridiculous. So if you ever go to a class and it starts with somebody's got a knife to your neck or somebody's grabbed you by the throat or something like that, you want to ask yourself, well, how did somebody get close enough to me to lay their hands on me without me seeing them? It's not fucking Star Trek. They didn't just materialise around your fucking neck. There was a beginning, a middle and an end. And if you have habitual awareness where you're just somewhat more street smart, you're much more likely to spot the beginning. which would be the victim selection. So how somebody selects somebody is they might glance at you, make eye contact, look you up and down, and then pretend they haven't seen you, and then look around to see if the coast is clear, and then walk towards you with purposeful intent. Well, I put it to you that all of that behaviour is a pre-threat cue. You just need to understand what pre-threat cues are. So imagine that you're walking down a road, and there's 3 lads walking this way. They're 3 lads just having a laugh this way and paying no attention to you. All that is 3 lads. But imagine that the one in the middle, let's say he's the alpha male, the mouth, gives you a hard stare. He looks you up and down, gives you a hard stare, and then he talks to his 2 friends like, who the fuck's this cunt? And they all look at you and give you a hard stare. Well, how much more information than that do you think you'd need to know that you're about to have a problem? You'd know, wouldn't you, straight away. So picture that again. Someone gives you a hard stare, group communication to their 2 friends, and then they all look at you. Well, that's pre-threat cue behaviour. And also, if you notice, say for instance, somebody like paying too much attention in what you're doing, you know, I mean, beyond just some bloke looking at a pretty girl, beyond that, somebody who's just like looking at what you're doing, wondering if you're on your own, blah blah blah, yeah. And then if somebody ever walks towards you and starts looking behind them like their head's on a swivel, people don't inadvertently look around behind them for nothing. That person is looking to see if there's a witness, see if there's somebody that could intervene to stop them from doing what they're going to do. Does that make sense? So part of being switched on, alert and aware is also understanding how a criminal operates. That would be the pivotal thing. Because if you were to turn the corner and, let's say, see those 3 rowdy lads before they saw you, you could go in the opposite direction, couldn't you? Because you were switched on. And like I say, the best self-protection is don't be there. But if you ever find yourself about to be a cornered animal, that adrenaline will hit your body. What's important is you act then. So we're going to work off the premise that you realise you're in a situation, you need to do something now, and you need to act. And the something that I'm going to give you is going to be very simple and gross motor in action. Now, primarily, urban combatives, what we teach here, is all about impact. So if you were to train for a period of time, I mean, like Craig or George have already, you would cultivate the ability to hit fucking hard. Because the simplest way to deal with anyone in a physical sense is switch off the computer. Disrupt the consciousness. And the best way to do that is repeated impactive strikes to the head that will shake the brain and knock the fucker out. So that's primarily what I teach. Your objective will be to disrupt this human being's ability to fight or hurt you. And the best way to do that would be to take their consciousness. Does that make sense? But if I work off the idea that, let's say I'm only going to see you this one time, then I can't give you the skills necessary in one lesson to cultivate the ability to hit hard. You might already be able to hit hard, but I want to give you something that will work immediately. Does that make sense? Right? So if I disrupt somebody's consciousness, they can't fight. Another way I can disrupt their ability to fight is to disrupt their vision. So if you put any foreign body in the eye, particularly something pointy and sharp, or in this case, let's say our fingers, if somebody is hit in the eye with a foreign body, in that moment they can't see. If they can't see, they can't fight. Does that make sense? Another way would be to disrupt breathing. If you kick somebody so hard in the balls that their fucking testicles meet their tonsils, trust me, they ain't breathing. Not temporarily, they are disrupted in breathing. And also mobility. If I stamped out your kneecap so you've hit the floor, you ain't going to be able to stand, which means you've got to crawl to catch me. So the way in which you can disrupt another human being's ability to fight is either take consciousness, the vision, the breathing, or the mobility. Does that make sense? If you take one or more of these things, as we will in this training lesson tonight, you will also take their emotional will to continue. They will no longer want any part of you. What's important for what you do, once you understand and are competent with it, is that you do it as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and with as much fucking aggression as you can muster. And most people, particularly in modern times, most lads in modern times, are gradually over the last 2 decades being socially conditioned not to be aggressive. It's considered out of vogue to be aggressive for the average person that is in the social media. And what you're finding is Men are becoming more what you call beta male rather than alpha male. So they're more beta male, where they're more concerned about their soy latte and their fucking man bun than they are really about standing up and fighting for their own protection or those they love. And that's something you need to get a shift on. I'm not saying any of them are you, I'm just saying that's society today, modern man. But what it doesn't include is the street predator. The street predator is alpha dominant. And if you come across somebody that is alpha dominant, extremely aggressive and prepared to be violent, the only way that you're going to deal with them is if you're willing to be more aggressive and more violent. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yeah.
Right, so what I'm going to give you is should be done aggressively. Right? If you find it difficult to muster aggression, then just act as if. Does that make sense? Fake it till you fucking make it. But the bottom line is tonight, all I'm going to teach you, don't worry about them, all I'm going to teach you is how to poke someone in the eyes and kick him in the balls, and then run. Sounds simple enough?
Yeah.
Yes? What? Let's get going.